All right, we're looking at Unit 5, Lesson 2 in Open Up Resource for the 7th grade math. Here, kind of getting into the number lines, looking at positive and negative numbers, just getting into those rational numbers. So we're going to see how those kind of stack up, how we use negative numbers. They can get a little tricky, but using a number line is a good way to kind of keep track of which way it should be going. So this first one right here just says which one doesn't belong. And this is really, you could make a case for a couple of these. For me, what I said is the one that doesn't belong is number 4. And the reason why is because all these other ones, the first one goes positive 3 until you get to number 4. This one up here, it does go to the right. It's not as long as the second one, and then the third one is the same size as the original. But for me, the thing that jumped out is that this last one right here is the only one that the first arrow does not go out 3 to the right, and that's why I'm saying this is different. You can make a case for a different one, and that's fine. This is just what I've noticed. Okay, so kind of continuing on with using those positive and negative numbers. So story problems. Here it talks about the change. If it's getting warmer, you're adding. If it's getting colder, you're taking away. Think of these number lines as a thermometer in a sense. So they already did the first one for us. So they said it went out 40. And then from there they continued another 10 to get to 50. Okay, this next one, it's saying you're starting at, or you're going out to 40. But now you're getting colder 5 degrees, so you're actually going to go back. And so here you get a plus 35. And that's just 40 minus 5 equals 35. Okay, it got colder. Colder means we're subtracting. Next one, so 30 degrees colder. But once again, we start at positive 40, so now we'll go back 30. And we end up at 10. So this is a positive 10 degrees. Once again, that was a 40 minus, because it's colder, minus 30 equals 10 degrees. Okay, next one, same thing. It starts at 40, but this time it gets colder by 40 degrees. So all the gain they made at the beginning is gone, and now we're just at 0. And that would be also the identity or the 0 property of multiplication. So that was 40 minus 40 equals 0. Okay, and then the last one, so you're 50 degrees colder. So once again, you start at 40, and now you're going to go back 50. That's going to take us all the way to negative 10. Because 40 minus 50 is going to equal a negative 10 degrees. Okay, obviously, if you're subtracting a larger number from a smaller, you're going to get into that negative range. And it's easy to see here with the number lines. So moving along to the next one, so we're doing the same thing here. It just says complete the table and draw a number line diagram for each situation. So the difference here now is we're starting out going to the right at the negative 20. Then you go 30 degrees warmer, so you're going to go move to the right 30 degrees. Oops. And you end up right at a positive 10. So this would be negative 20 plus 30 equals negative 10. Next one, same thing. Oops. Start out going the wrong way. So it's negative, so we're going to the left to negative 20. But then it warms up 35 degrees. So once again, we're going to go right from our endpoint there and end right at 15. And so you can do negative 20 plus 35 equals a positive 15. Oops, and I made a mistake there. That should be a positive 10 on that first one, not a negative 10. Okay, next one, once again, you start out at negative 20, then you go back 15. So this one doesn't get us out of the negatives, but it still does warm it up. So that one is a negative 5. So negative 20 plus 15 equals negative 5. Again, the last one, it says 15 degrees colder. So colder, you're moving to the left on the number line. So there, that's the first one. You're at negative 20 now. We're going to continue going left another 15. So from 20, you go 5, 10, 15, and you're at negative 35. This would be negative 20, and you could do plus 8, negative 15, or you could do minus 15. Either would work. That's going to give you a negative 35. Okay, and one thing that I'd say is if your both signs are negative and you're adding them, then your outcome is going to be negative. Okay, this are you ready for more? So there's doing a diagram showing us kind of what is going on here. Your A is a positive number, and then you are either subtracting a positive number or you're adding a negative number, is what's being shown here. So up here at the top, it just has a question dealing with that image that it just showed, kind of. So it says, for the formula A and B represented in the figure, which expression is equal to A plus B in absolute value? Okay, so now looking at this, when I first did this, I went the wrong route because I wasn't trying to put it equal to this. I was trying to put it equal to the one that we saw in the diagram. But here I'm just going to assign A equals 5 and B equals negative 10. Just to double check. So here, A, or 5 plus a negative 10 is going to be a negative 5. The absolute value of that equals 5. So now let's see if that works here. So this would be 5. Absolute value of 5 is 5. Plus the absolute value of negative 10 is just going to be 10. That's going to equal 15. So that does not equal what we got here for our number 5. Let's check the second one. So now it's 5 minus an absolute value of negative 10, which is 10. So that's going to give us negative 5. So this one right here would be the one that actually would add to what we see on the diagram. But it's asking for the A plus B. And so assuming B is a negative number, so now this would be 10 minus 5, which equals 5. So that one does check out. So this third one is the one that actually checks out with the absolute value of A plus B. Okay. So 2.3. So here we're going to do some more. We don't have number lines. You could draw one if you'd like. I'm just going to set this up and do it just writing out the steps. So once again, if a temperature is getting warmer, you're adding the temperature to it. If it's getting colder, you're going to subtract it. So it says in Orlando it is 10 degrees warmer than in Houston. Well, right here we're told that Houston is 8 degrees. So that would be 8 degrees plus 10 degrees, which equals 18 degrees. Because it's warmer, so we're adding. Next one, we start with 8. So it says Salt Lake City is 8 degrees colder. So now colder is subtraction. So we're going to minus 8. And that's going to tell us that the temperature in Salt Lake City is 0. Okay, in Minneapolis, it is 20 degrees colder. So once again, now you're subtracting. And you're always starting with the original amount because it's Minneapolis is 20 degrees colder than in Houston. So 8 minus 20 equals a negative 12. Okay, and then in Fairbanks, it is 10 degrees colder than in Minneapolis. Well, we're not going to use 8 anymore because we know that we're looking for the temperature in Minneapolis, which we're just told from the previous question that that's negative 12. And it is saying that it's 10 degrees colder than in Minneapolis, so you're going to subtract that 10 or plus a negative 10. You could set it up either way, you're going to get the same outcome. Both of these are going to equal a negative 22. Okay, here it says write an additional equation that represents the relationship between the temperature in Houston and the temperature in Fairbanks. So write an additional equation that represents the relationship between the temperature in Houston and the temperature in Fairbanks. So we can just say that is 8 plus, no, well, I guess we could have done a plus and negative. So 8 minus 20 minus 10 equals, so that would be the equation. And when you run it through, your outcome is negative 22. Okay, 8 minus 22 is going to give us a negative 12. 12 minus 10 is going to give us negative 22. Okay, so 2.4, story problem. So it just says write a story about temperatures that this expression could represent. 27 plus a negative 11. So I just said Billings was 27 degrees at 12 p.m. or 12 p.m. The temperature has dropped 11 degrees since. So that's explaining something that's happening there. You're minusing 11 degrees or you're adding a negative 11 degrees. Okay, and then number 2, it says draw a number line diagram and write an expression to represent the situation on Tuesday at lunchtime. It was 26 degrees Celsius. By sunset, the temperature had dropped 16 degrees Celsius. So here we've got our number line, and I went from 0 to 30 because that's the initial temperature, or sorry, not 30, 29. That's got a curve in it, so it looks a little... And that 29 on this number line is just kind of an estimate about where it falls. And then from that 29, it gets colder, so you're subtracting or moving to the left, and that would be 16 degrees. So 29 minus 16 equals 13, and that would be the equation to represent what's going on here in this graph.